Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second part of the show this wonderful Saturday morning. We are still in studio with Sofina Merino, and we are talking about role modeling and mentorship. And as I said, having a lady or a guest today, we just have to be biased towards the ladies because the personal experiences she'll give are definitely for a lady. So I think before we went on a break, there's an example that was coming up, but she's saying that she's nullified the example. but let's proceed. Let's proceed. Somebody also texted me with a question. I think this is the last of the many questions that I was sent. And the question that the person asked me: how have you managed as a girl to overcome all the challenges that we face? I think we here means girls.
Yeah.
So I don't think I need to refer to that anymore.
How have I overcome the challenges?
Yes.
As a young woman, as a girl, it hasn't been easy. I think the first way is the power of prayer.
The power of prayer.
The power of prayer, my faith. Cast all your burdens unto Jesus because he cares for you. It's that simple. So where I've had a problem, I have taken it to God in prayer. And I mean, it's worked for me and for many others. And that's one recommendation I will give. But most importantly, the second way I think I would say is having self-determination.
Self-determination.
Yes, knowing where you want to go. If you say you want to be a doctor, okay? You cannot start majoring in art and loving physics and loving geography. Okay, you'll be focused on chemistry and biology. True or false?
True.
If you want to be in media, all right, you cannot hide yourself, and just never. You can't hide yourself and be quiet.
You must be on the screen like you.
Yes, you have to be out there, speaking, talking, interacting. So that's the second thing I'd say, that as a young woman, the challenge is knowing where you want to go, even if obstacles come on the way, we're saying this is the pathway. So even if you have to go over a hill on the left, what we're saying is, where the direction, the ultimate direction is. So you'll work towards getting there. And then the third thing I'd say about challenges is having a support system.
Having a support system.
Yes, and I mean, you personally, my friends, okay? These are people, and my friends are older. When I say my friends, not necessarily my peers, but people who are older than me, who can be able to guide me. I mean, this used to work very well, say in secondary, where there's this student who's good at math. Like math yeye ni chopi, anashikanisha. So what used to happen? Group work, tafutana na ule msee. So ndio akusaidie. True or false?
True.
Yes, so that is how it works, So that, I mean, a network doesn't have to be complicated. Because someone is just somewhere and they're thinking, sasa mimi, network nitaanza kutoa wapi, sijui, watu wanaweza ni influence. So it's there. It's your older sister. It's your neighbor. I hope it's a good neighbor. Yeah, but get that network of support. And the other challenge I would say, especially growing up, and I mean, this is something that affects us, as young people, just, I'd call it, not really depression, but just worry. Wow. I hope you get, just worry, the uncertainty, what's going to happen tomorrow. If you're in campus, I remember this is something that really scared me. I mean, if we finish campus, they say in Kenya there are no jobs.
But you're in campus.
So you're wondering, and then I remember someone, oh my God, these people who come to speak to you. Someone came and said, in Kenya, we have, was it 60% unemployment. Now imagine you. And you get terrified. You're like, oh my God, what am I going into? But I think one of the things which was worked for me is having that optimism, having that hope. Well, I'd like to say I got employment, so, it works. I mean, just having that hope. And again, I cannot overemphasize faith, the faith of a mustard seed. It moves mountains. So when you have that, just that little faith, I mean, you're a child of God, okay?
Yeah.
And He has kept these promises for us. There's a verse I really love, the one on why do you worry? I mean, look at the birds, look at the flowers. Do you dress them? Aren't they? They're fine. So you as a child of God, doesn't He care more about you? So yeah, just having that faith and hope. I mean, yeah, those are some of the things that will get you through the challenges as a young girl, as a young woman.
Wow. So just to maybe emphasize, there's place of prayer. You must pray. There's no shortcut. You have to pray. Then you have to get a very good network. And these are people who should influence you positively, not just any other network, because if it's about network, even that drunkard in your village, in your estate can be part of your network, but you need to get positive influences. Then there's also the aspect of self-determination. Be determined and know where you want to go. However hard, however difficult, if you know you want to move from point A to point B and you're focused on it, you will get there. You will get there. Then there's finally, she's talked about faith. As small as a mustard seed, your faith can make you get employment when they say there's 60% unemployment rate in Kenya. Forget about the naysayers. Be an optimist. That's what we're saying. So in case you're joining us once again, this is Next Gen Warriors, and with me is a very, very well-enlightened, informed personality by the name of Sofina Mourinho, and we're talking about mentorship and role modeling with a very, very, very serious bias to girls today. So, Sofina, we've looked at the manner in which you overcame the challenges: self-determination, prayer, network, name them. But now, in the current society right now, there's an issue I want us to tackle, and I know this is a bit, it's something that maybe most people want to shy away from. It's the issue of sponsors. Let's face it, young girls, some are even coming to church and pretending, but outside there they have sponsors. They are promised jobs, promotions, what have you. How do you deal with the issue of sponsors, especially for young girls? The times that are, and they'll justify with like, unajua kwetu sisi hatuna kakitu, madhangu hata hizi provide food, sasa mimi nipata huyu jamaa anaweza tubaia food, They'll justify with every other reason, but it is wrong from all perspectives, biblically, societally, it is wrong. So how do you deal with the issue of sponsors, especially among young girls? What can you tell them?
Young girls. I'd put it this way. It's our responsibility as a society. Now, again, I'd like to speak to the young girls, but I'd like to speak to us as a society.
It is well. It is well. Feel free.
Because who is the sponsor? The sponsor is the managing director, is the director general, is the manager, is the supervisor at a given company in our country, okay? When this young girl comes to the office, there's the secretary there. In fact, you've said we're talking candidly. Usually watu wanajua ule ni wa boss. Are we together? We know. So, and again, thank you for raising that issue, because it really it brings up so many, the morality, the standards of morality that we uphold as a society. What is it that we condemn as a society? Because you realize why it's even becoming an issue, like you've said, It's because we all what's it called, closing our eyes, turning the other side. I think we're all turning our the other side to the issue. Okay, so first let me address the society, and then I'll talk to the young girl. So I think it's our responsibility, for me, for you, to actually call out the men and the women who are engaging in these vices, because even for the women, we have the dogo dogo boys. Yeah, so we need to call that out and actually say if it's wrong. So that if my neighbor, I know my neighbor is 50, he has a wife probably in the village, but he brings this young girl, I need to tell him, boss, it's not right, stop that. But again, coming back to the young girl, the society, there's really so much you can do. There's so much a part you can play. But you as a young girl, why would you give the excuse of there's nothing else I can do? That's a lie. That's a lie. And how you know it's a lie, it's because you don't even have to look 10 blocks from where you live. I'm sure you can get a girl who is trying, even if it's selling. I mean, I see young women hooking in town, okay? Not the best example, definitely, but I'm just trying to show activities that you can do to generate your own money. Why are you being lazy? In fact, the issue of sponsors, well, besides morality, it's literally you as a young girl being lazy, honestly.
Wow.
So I think the first thing we need, and this is real talk, thank you for raising that. The first thing that we need to address is the fact that you want to, unataka kucheza maisha. As in, even for that man, you remember what I said? He is a director somewhere, he is a manager somewhere, he is a supervisor somewhere. That's why he gets the money to give you the remains, so to say, the remains of what he earns. So as a young girl, there is no way that you run away. I mean, Adam and Eve, this is where all this came from, okay? We were told, after eating the fruit in the Garden of Eden, we were told now you have to work, you have to toil the soil to get returns. So why would you want to shortchange that? That is wrong. So stop being lazy. And then the other thing I'd say is seek out opportunities. And I wouldn't be best placed to talk about these opportunities, but what I'd say is if you look enough, you will find them.
If you look enough, you'll find them.
That's the sad part. You have to look enough.
So you don't just look.
You don't just look.
Look enough.
Yes, you need to look further, look deeply, literally look for it. You will find it. So you have no excuse whatsoever. But the other thing I'd say to the young girls is what value do you place on yourself? And also, there's this thing we say, what goes around comes around. It's also called karma. But whatever you're doing to that man's family, remember you're young. You have very many years ahead of you. What goes around comes around. So at least on a bare minimum, if you feel you don't know why you shouldn't do this, remember it's about your future. And sometimes I usually say, we need to document some of these stories. And I'm happy, nowadays we have shows that document stories in terms of someone did something wrong and how it affected their life. So we are in the know. So these stories are out there. I mean, we're talking about diseases. We're talking about sexually transmitted diseases. Like, why would you risk your whole life for a few years of pocket change? Because that's what it is. Why would you risk your whole life for a few years of pocket change? Yeah.
Wow. Our time is well spent, but before we close the show, I know you're a mentor, you're a role model, you're a trainer, and all that, and it would be very unfair if we don't talk about how do you get a mentor. So how do you get a mentor? How did you meet? I don't want to put it like how did you meet Karen, but I have no idea any other way of putting it. So how did you meet your mentor? Maybe not Karen, as you said, but
Yeah.
how do you identify a mentor as a girl? You know, now we're talking
Yes.
about girl because, you know, my boys see tunakwanga to freestyle, you know. Ni aje buda unadhani sote, you know. But girls, you know, you must be very specific and very detailed and all that. So how do you get a mentor as a girl?
So how you get a mentor as a girl is acting like a boy. You know, the way you said, sisi kama wa boy tuta approach tu tuseme ni vipi. I mean, and this is the honest reality, is even as girls, we need to be able to just get out of that shell and actually approach someone and say, you guy, my guy, ni aje, sunisaidi sector. Are you together? So that's the first tip. How to get a mentor? Act like a boy. But nevertheless, just drink that aside, and this will be all inclusive for the girls and for the boys. I think the first thing that you need to do is identify them.
Identify them.
Yes. Now, so I have, oh, wait, and this is very important. I have to emphasize this first. You can have many mentors, and you can have different mentors for different sectors, okay?
So
I'll give an example.
Okay.
I have a mentor for my communication, I have a mentor for my profession, and I have a mentor for my schoolwork.
Some of us don't even have one.
Yeah.
Where?
So,
Okay.
yeah, so thank you for that question. So now how that works is you need to identify, I mean, we usually say, well, you can get someone who has everything. I mean, even for spirituality, like we have spiritual mentors, okay? Someone who will guide you in your prayer life and in your spiritual life. So identify someone who has something you want. So I'll give an example. Like I said, I have a mentor in communication, okay? So how I approached her was just admiring how she speaks. She's a moderator like yourself. So how
I am one. Okay. All right.
how she conducts herself. And you know, yeah, I was fortunate enough, I got her in campus. So I just approached her and was like, hi, I like what you do. Yeah, of course, the first time, I don't know why, you tend to get snubbed. So that happens. So it's not like you'll approach someone and like, oh, wow, lovely, I'm happy to have you. But no, sometimes they just ignore you, okay? But what you need to do is keep going. I mean, in your next session, I'd advise you talk to young people about how to make that move, how to approach people, basically how to go for what you want.
Okay.
But yeah, reach out to them continuously, you know?
Continuously.
And when you say continuously, it's have objective conversations. Don't just squeeze in on a gato anasema, because I have a few mentees, anakwambia tu, hi, sasa.
The story meisha. Where?
Yeah.
Hi, Sasa, please.
So be
Make the
objective.
conversation
Yes.
very objective. Yes.
Yes. So that's the first way to get a mentor. The second way that you can get a mentor is we have mentorship programs actually. So especially in Kenya, we have different mentorship programs. I won't mention them, but maybe we can just put them on our pages for people to identify with them, whereby you are taught on leadership, you're taught on spirituality, whichever. I mean, we have several fellowships, so depending on your area of interest, even if it's entrepreneurship. And then under such programs, they actually help you to get a mentor.
You know that you brought up those programs. You know, I've been part of some of these programs. And you know, it is very interesting that like you'll find 70% of people who go to this program are men or boys,
Yes.
for that matter. So the big question would be, what is the big challenge why girls don't find themselves in these groups? What is the main hindrance? Why would a girl not be so much interested in mentorship and all that? Because the larger chunk of people who are in those programs, which let us not mention are boys.
Yes.
What is the challenge? What is the main hindrance? What do you think is the main hindrance, and how can girls perhaps overcome this?
Thank you for that question. And the main hindrance has been the willingness to pursue such opportunities. One, you get girls are not aware, in as much as we have efforts to make them aware. They're still not aware. And how this happens is, again, just looking at even the distribution of resources in the family. You get, and again, it's really complicated. So I'll paint a scenario. For a man, you can go out, like if you just a boy, if you left home and you came back at 8 p.m., your mother was like, okay, good, my boy. You're looking for things, and that's where you'll identify these opportunities. But as a girl, even in my movement, I'll be restricted. My mother will want to know, umeenda town kufanya nini? Make sure you're back by 7 because of your security, okay? So there's that, I'm just trying to show that limiting factor in the extent to which women and men can access information. But also the other thing is, our society has raised men to be aggressive. Our society has raised men to go for what they want.
So how can we change that? Because we need these ladies or these girls into this
come
program.
on board.
How can we change that?
Well, you realize, now this can be done on an organizational and institutional level, whereby, again, for some of these programs, they say we need to have at least 40%, at least a 50-50 balance, okay? So those are some of the policies that you can put in place. So that, and you get to realize that takes care of it. When we have, say, the 70 boys apply, we'll get them to 50, and then even motivate the girls. You know what has happened in the education sector going into campus? We lowered the grading system. So that needs to be adopted even in these programs. But again, doesn't that affect the quality of the people
program
we churn out? So now we have to go back to society. So I mean, it's an ongoing discussion, and it's an ongoing work that we keep doing to our girls, to empower them, to ask them to reach out to opportunities, to ask them to have confidence in themselves. It's an ongoing conversation, and truthfully, it's work that continues to be done and that needs to be done. So what I'd do is I'd call out to stakeholders and players in the different sectors to just come together and be very intentional in uplifting the girl child from the different situations.
How can the church help in mentorship of girls?
The church plays a big role.
What are some of the programs that churches can come up? Now that I know you design programs.
Yes.
So what are some of the programs that you think the churches can come up with to help our girls?
Yes. So
in terms of mentorship.
Yes. So the first thing that the church can come up with is just have girl-oriented programs where you get the young women in the church coming together. You call to them speakers who are women, who can talk to them and show them these things have been done and they can be done. But also, secondly, the other thing you can do, our churches can be intentional. I mean, well, I don't want to, point fingers, but we have institutions, church institutions, where the clergy is men. And up to this day, we're having that debate, okay? Why is it that the top clergymen are men? So that is where the tough conversation starts. Does it mean the women can't pray? Sometimes you realize the pastor's wife, sorry to say this, does more, is equal to, performs tasks equal to the bishop or the reigning bishop. But why is it that we still call her the pastor's wife? Why can't we call her assistant bishop? So this is some of the tough conversations that we have to have in our church institutions. And what that does is it shapes our conversations for us to say, good, so these women in the church, we don't need to call them the assistant team. They actually perform roles that are equitable to a salary, that are equitable to a position of leadership and of decision making. So that's the second thing the church can do. Just try to reach that 50-50 gender role. But also the other thing that we cannot downplay in the church is the role of family. Families come to church, okay? And I mean, this is the best platform for people to address the issue of, I would say, abuse, the issue of domestic violence, the issue of equality of work, because you realize, I mean, people come to church as a family. So even in our daily preachings, our daily service, I mean, we have amazing women in the Bible. We have women like Ruth, you know, we have women like Esther, women who have saved a whole generation and community. We have women like Mary Magdalene. I mean, we have powerful women in the Bible. Let us tell these stories. In fact, you know, it was amazing when I was researching for this, just coming across Deborah. You know, that's a story that I had forgotten personally, and I wonder how many more people have forgotten about that. So let us have these conversations to elevate women, to tell women it's possible, but most importantly, to inform women about the opportunities for them to move. Because it's one thing to know it's possible, but it's another thing to know how to get there. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So I was just giving time for those points to sink. They're very heavy and you just can't take them anyhow. I know we are coming to the tail end of the show. We have like, I think 2 minutes. In case you're joining us and you're wondering, wow, time is really spent. But Sofina, I want you to like look at camera 3 here where this wonderful gentleman by the name Robin is. I want you to speak to that young girl out there. She's wondering, I am stuck. I don't know where to start. The challenges are too many. I don't have a mentor. I don't even understand how to emulate somebody who's called a role model. So where do I start? How do I move on from here? Even as we come to the close of the show. So just give us your parting shot and just talk to that young girl watching us.
Dear young girl, I think you need to realize, we say it's darkest before dawn. And what that means is whatever situation you're in, it comes to an end eventually. But some of the things are in your control and some of the things are in God's control. So for whatever you need to place in God's hands, do so. Pray. Reach out to God and ask Him to guide you. But for whatever that you can do as an individual, do it. There's a philosophy I live by. You know it deep inside, you feel it. Sometimes it's a small, still voice. Some of us would call it the Holy Spirit, but sometimes it's a small, still voice. Listen to it, because at the end of it all, I can assure you, all will be well. For the simple reason that God is your Father, and for the simple reason that He says He blesses the work of our hands. So go out there and it will be well, no matter the situation. Go out there. You know what needs to be done. Listen to that voice.
Wow. What a way to end the show. I will not add nothing. So that has been my time and that has been our time on the show today. See you again next week, same station, same time, same day on Elevate TV. Please don't change the dial because another wonderful program is just about to pop up on your screen. See you next week. Goodbye. God bless you.